The silence in the house was deafening. It was the kind of silence that made your ears ring and your skin crawl, as if the very air was holding its breath, waiting for something sinister to happen. I had always been afraid of the dark, but this was something else entirely. It was as if the darkness had seeped into every corner of the house, turning it into a prison of shadows and secrets. I tried to shake off the feeling of dread that clung to me like a second skin, telling myself it was all in my head. But deep down, I knew there was something wrong with the house, something malevolent lurking just beyond the edge of my vision. As I climbed the stairs, each creak of the floorboards sent my heart racing, and every shadow seemed to twist and contort into monstrous shapes. I could feel eyes watching me from the darkness, hungry and malevolent. I reached the top of the stairs and hurried down the hallway to my room, desperate for the safety of my bed. But as I turned the corner, I froze in terror. The figure loomed over me, its presence filling the air with an icy chill. I tried to scream, but no sound came out, my voice lost in the suffocating silence of the house. I turned and ran, my heart pounding in my chest, the sound of my footsteps echoing off the walls. But no matter how fast I ran, the darkness seemed to follow, swallowing me whole. I burst into my room and slammed the door shut behind me, gasping for breath as I pressed my back against the cold wood. But even in the safety of my room, I could still feel the darkness pressing in on me, whispering secrets that chilled me to the bone. I knew then that I was trapped in a house filled with shadows and silence, with no hope of escape. And as the darkness closed in around me, I realized that some horrors are too terrifying to ever be forgotten. I never liked being home alone. There's something about the silence that creeps under your skin, especially when the shadows start to dance in the corners of the room. But when my parents had to go away for the weekend, leaving me alone in our old, creaky house, I had no choice but to tough it out. The first night started off like any other. I watched TV, ate junk food, and tried to ignore the eerie feeling creeping up my spine. But as the hours ticked by and the darkness outside deepened, the house seemed to come alive with strange noises. Every creak of the floorboards sent my heart racing, and every whisper of the wind made me jump. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. As midnight approached, I decided to retreat to my bedroom, hoping the safety of my covers would shield me from whatever lurked in the darkness. But as I lay there, wide awake, I heard it, a soft, insidious whisper, like the hiss of a serpent. I froze, my blood turning to ice in my veins. The whisper seemed to be coming from the hallway outside my room, growing louder with each passing moment. With trembling hands, I reached for my phone, desperate for some semblance of light in the suffocating darkness. But as I turned on the flashlight, the whispering stopped abruptly, leaving behind an eerie silence that was almost worse than the noise. I hesitated, unsure if I should investigate, but curiosity got the better of me. I made my way to the hallway, heart pounding in my chest, each step echoing loudly in the stillness of the night. The shadows seemed to shift and twist, taking on sinister shapes that sent shivers down my spine. I reached the spot where I thought the whispering had originated, but there was nothing there, just an empty hallway bathed in moonlight. I let out a shaky breath, relieved that it was all just my imagination playing tricks on me. But as I turned to go back to bed, I heard it again, the whispering, louder and more urgent this time, like a warning from beyond the grave. I spun around, searching frantically for the source, but there was nothing there. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, the whispering stopped, leaving behind a deafening silence that seemed to swallow me whole. I stood there, rooted to the spot, my mind reeling with fear and confusion. I knew I had to get out of there, to escape the suffocating grip of the house and whatever darkness lurked within its walls. With trembling hands, I grabbed my keys and made a break for the front door, not daring to look back. As I burst out into the cool night air, I felt a sense of relief wash over me, like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. But as I turned to look back at the house, I saw something that made my blood run cold. In the faint light of the moon, I saw them, the shadows, moving and shifting behind the glass, whispering secrets that sent shivers down my spine. And in that moment, I knew that I would never truly be free from the horrors that lurked within the walls of my home. It was supposed to be a relaxing weekend getaway. Just me, the cozy cabin in the woods, and the promise of peace and quiet. But as night fell, and the forest outside grew dark and silent, I realized that I was not alone. I tried to brush off the feeling of unease that settled over me like a heavy blanket, telling myself it was just my imagination. But as the hours ticked by and the darkness deepened, I couldn't shake the sense that something was watching me from the shadows. I decided to call it a night and retreated to my bedroom, hoping that sleep would offer some respite from the growing sense of dread. But as I lay there in the darkness, I heard a soft, rhythmic tapping coming from somewhere outside the cabin. I told myself it was just a branch tapping against the window, or perhaps an animal wandering through the woods. But deep down, I knew it was something more sinister, something that didn't belong in this peaceful forest retreat. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that there was something out there in the darkness, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I tried to convince myself it was just my overactive imagination, but the fear lingered like a bad dream. I knew I had to confront whatever was out there, to prove to myself that I was just being paranoid. With trembling hands, I grabbed a flashlight and headed outside, determined to uncover the source of the mysterious tapping once and for all. I followed the sound of the tapping deeper into the woods, my heart pounding in my chest with every step. But just as I was about to reach the source, the tapping stopped abruptly, leaving behind an eerie silence that was almost worse than the noise. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a shadowy figure lurking in the darkness, its eyes gleaming with malice. I froze, unable to move as it stepped out into the moonlight, revealing its twisted, monstrous form. I turned and ran, my heart pounding in my chest as I fled through the darkness, the creature hot on my heels. But no matter how fast I ran, I couldn't escape the feeling that I was being hunted, that the creature would never stop until it had claimed me as its next victim. I reached the safety of the cabin and slammed the door shut behind me, breathing heavily as I leaned against the wood. But even as I caught my breath, I knew that the creature was still out there, lurking in the darkness, waiting for its next opportunity to strike.